Hey guys, today we're here to show you how to set up the telemetry functions for the Mamba X series controllers in combination with the Futaba S-Bus telemetry link that is sold separately by Castle. Now to set this up, you will need a telemetry radio from Futaba, and for the Castle system specifically, it will have to be the 4PX or 4PXR. The Futaba 4PV and 4PL do not work, even though that they are also telemetry radios. So if you're using either of those, not going to have any luck with this telemetry setup. So I'm going to be using my 4PX today. Now, if you are running a Futaba 4PX, you also need to make sure that you are running the latest software. If you're running version 1, this is not going to work properly. You need to make sure that you're updated to at least version 1.4. To check that, go into the menu, go to the System menu, then Information, and at the very bottom, there'll be something that says Version. And if you have an early version of the 4PX like I did, you'll be running version 1. To update, go to the futaba-rc.com. At the very bottom, there's a software updates link. Click that, find the 4PX version listed, and download the zip file. Uncompress the zip, copy the Futaba folder from there onto a micro SD, stick that into the front of your radio in the micro SD slot, and then all you have to do is hold the end button while powering on the radio, and it'll go through an updating function. That's all there is to it. It's pretty quick and easy to get the radio updated. Now, once you've got that done, the next thing you need to do is make sure that you've got a telemetry receiver and it is properly linked to your radio. As long as your radio is up to date, the first thing you're going to do is turn on the radio in display mode. In display mode, you're going to go into the menu system and you're going to go to receiver. In receiver, make sure that it's on TFHSS. The T stands for telemetry. Once you make sure that is selected, you can power off the radio again and then power it back on in the standard operational mode. With the radio powered up normally, go into the receiver menu again this time, and then on the receiver ID line where it says link, that's where we're going to need to be. Add power to your system, and now press link on the radio. You have 20 seconds, and press the SW button on your receiver. You'll have a red light normally, it'll flash red, and then go to an amber color, and then it links up. Then you can close the link on your radio.
Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we do have to do some programming in the Castle Link software. This is 3.72.00, so make sure you're using at least this version or later. First thing we're going to do is plug in our Mamba X and just do some basic setup. I've already got some settings in here. Like I said, I use 3 volts per cell, crawler reverse since I'm using a scale truck and I want that instant reverse for rock crawling. Now you can use auto lipo. I just changed it to that. My BEC voltage, this depends on your servo. I'm using 6 volts for this Futaba BLS 152 servo that I have in there. Now, as far as the brake amount, I'm not actually using, it doesn't really matter since I have crawler reverse. I don't actually have brake. Now, the drag brake is the function below it, and I've got mine set at 30%. However, this doesn't matter because I'll show you in a second, I'm actually using the auxiliary channel to control my drag brake function. So it's all controllable from the radio, which is a nice function. On power, basic settings there, not too much adjusted. Now this part is where you select what you want that auxiliary channel to adjust, and again I'm using the drag brake adjustment. I think that's going to be the most helpful for me in this truck since it's not a rock racer. They do have that rock racer crawler mode switch that you can use and still have some adjustment, but for this truck I'm just going with the drag brake adjustment. Now right here, this is very important. You need to use the link live enabled. You need to make sure that that is enabled if you plan on using this telemetry software. You need to make sure that that says enabled. But if you enable it and you're not using the telemetry, you're not going to have it work. So just something to note, all very important. This is the data logging. This ESC, if you're not using telemetry, will still save the data inside the ESC. So you can have it save all kinds of data. The more data you have, the less time it will record though. I ran several hours this weekend, so as you can see here, the log data, the capacity was full. So you can download the data, analyze it, save it, do whatever you want, but then you need to clear it before you'll be able to save new data. It will not continue to overwrite itself, so that's worth mentioning. After downloading the data, you need to clear the cache so that you can use it again. Make sure, again, select the things that you want to have on there. It'll record all different kinds of information. Just take a look and see what you want to have recorded. And then below, the sample frequency. This is how many times per second you want it to sample the data. 5 samples per second is quite a lot, especially for what we're doing. If you're racing, faster, of course, is better. But for crawling and trailing, 1 to 2 samples per second is probably going to be more than enough. As you can see here, at 1 sample per second, you can get an hour and 52. At 2 samples per second, you get 56 minutes. So just take a look at that. Make sure and see if that's what you're looking for. For throttle and brake curves, I run straight throttle and brake curves. I am running 2.02, a beta release of the firmware in this Mamba X. So that's currently what you see there. Once you're done, update your settings before unplugging your ESCs to make sure that all of those changes took place. The next thing we have to do is plug in the telemetry link. Now, the very first thing you'll notice on this is on the Basics tab, you need to look at where the first option is. It says S-Bus throttle input. Now, this is where you have to tell it what channel is actually going to control the throttle. The default is channel 3, but for most car-based systems, channel 2 is where you need the throttle. You don't actually plug the telemetry link into channel 2 on your receiver like you normally would. You plug it into the S-Bus port. So, adjust that to channel 2. Next, note that the S-Bus 2 slot shows slots 8 through 15 as where it's actually going to give that sensor data that's where it's going to note it as far as what channels it's sending that data to your remote from. Lastly, just check that you're running the most up-to-date current software on your link, and then go ahead and hit update.
Now that our radio is properly linked to the receiver, we need to set up the sensors inside of the radio. So you go over to the menu and you go to Sensor. Click on Sensor, and this is where you load the settings. Now in the sensor menu, you can click Sensor List, and you're going to see basically nothing. What we need to do first is we need to go reload the sensor list. So click Reload, and when it says, "Are you sure?" click Yes. Let it load all of the sensors. We have the telemetry link set up to broadcast on channels 8 through 16. So we're going to go to channel 8, and we're going to go down to Castle, TLO1. Now, once you've selected the Castle TLO1, you can see that it's populated that sensor list in channels 8 through 15. You can now back out of this menu completely, and you can go to the telemetry menu. Now, in the telemetry menu, you'll see Receiver and Castle TLO1. Receiver is the voltage that the receiver is seeing, which should also match the BEC voltage output that you will see inside the second menu. Now, you can scroll down to TLO1 and then select it. Now, once you've selected it, what you'll see inside there is all of the settings that you've selected in that Castle telemetry link from your Castle link. Here we see voltage, which just shows that I'm using a battery that's not fully charged. Current, I'm not currently running the motor, so you don't see any current output. Power out, that again will be the percentage of power that the ESC is outputting to the motor, but right now, again, I'm not running it, so you won't see anything. At full throttle, it should be at 100%. Rotation, that's actually the motor RPM. BEC voltage, that's the voltage that you set inside of the Castle link for that ESC to output to your receiver. I have eliminated the external Castle BEC that I was running on this system because of the new 8 amp peak BEC that's built into this new Castle ESC. So far, it's running my Futaba BLS 152 just fine. BEC current, currently there's no reading on there. You can see some voltage sag when I turn it. You can see the voltage drop. BC current. I don't see any rating though, which I'm not 100% sure why. Then ripple voltage, that's battery ripple voltage, and then temperature. Temperature right now is reading at 114. Now, and that I'm not 100% sure why. Nothing in this car should be warm. The car hasn't been ran all day. Everything feels cool to the touch. So I'm not sure why that temperature is reading that way. That might be something that we can calibrate. I'm not 100% sure why. So if I select one of the telemetry outputs in this menu, say voltage for battery voltage, I can go in, and this is an upper and lower limit. An upper limit would be if I was, for some reason, had a battery that was over the voltage allowable by this model, which I'm not going to add any sort of alarm for that. As far as a lower limit, though, I'm going to go ahead and set a limit on this. Now, I'm not going to do an audible alarm. I'm actually going to do a vibrate alarm, and I'll set it to type 1 is just a constant vibrate. Type 2 is a pulsing. Type 3 is a quicker pulse. So I'm going to go with type 3, and I'm going to set the limit at, let's see. See, right now it's constantly going because I'm below that warning. So once I get below 11.4, it should stop. So 5, 4, 3, and now it stopped. So since I run 3-cell only, I've got my warning, or I've got my LiPo cutoff set at 3 volts per cell. I know that's lower than some people would. Usually I can feel when my battery's going flat and I'll stop early, but I don't like it to stop me if I'm not going to. So with 3-cell, I'm going to say, let's say we'll set this at 3.3 volts per cell, so 9.9 volts. That's when my alarm will start going off. Now I could put another alarm on the temperature. However, there's something iffy with this sensor right now. You can see jumping from 114 to 119, obviously something's up. There's no way that it should be jumping 5 degrees so quickly. So for right now, I'm going to leave that one alone and do some further investigating into that later, see if I can figure out why that is giving me such an odd number. Now, I have not done anything as far as looking into setting up the telemetry on my initial display, but at least that shows you how to get it all linked and find the information on your radio.